Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to the first part of a two-part mini-series that I am doing. Essentially it's nothing fancy, I just had a lot of footage because as you can see this is a massive build and there's just so much of it that I thought I'd be nice and split it up into two parts just to make it a bit easier to watch. But yeah, so you can see I am doing the roofing here. It was a bit finicky, but essentially other than this little corner, once I figured out this corner it was all fine. And just yeah, it was all decent after that really. There's nothing really much to explain there. This build is inspired by a Pinterest photo, which I know is a very original, but I just find it's been helping me to look at real builds. I tried the other day in a non-recording scenario to build something just off the top of my head, and it was just really like so difficult, so unimaginably difficult, which is crazy because it used to be not difficult at all. So yeah, I've just been using the crutch of Pinterest to support me a little bit still. But yeah, so you can see here I'm using a cats and dogs siding and then a stone swatch from the University Pack. The cats and dogs expansion pack is the main theme running throughout this build, as well as quite strong like woodworks, I guess you could say, but like this sort of muted wood tone that you can see in the archways and the windows here. The main reason that I was drawn to the picture I used as inspiration was because of the porch, and how I recreated it here was using the cats and dogs archways and archway-like windows to open up the enclosed space of the porch, that is, without using any beams or posts. So sorry, I've just forgotten all the words of all the things. It's not a good time really, brain, but nevertheless we persevere. But yeah, so you can see I've just added some windows to the front. That's the general idea of the windows for the rest of the build, so you won't see me really adding any windows anywhere else. They'll just magically appear. But yeah, for now we're on to a bit of landscaping. So you can see I've pulled out a bunch of trees in the background. Those are all again from Cats and Dogs, and the tree in the front as well as the dogwood tree from Cats and Dogs. They get scattered around at some point, which again you'll just notice they magically appear in places that they are meant to be. But for now I'm doing some terrain painting. As per usual with my builds, this doesn't stay. It's sort of the general idea of what is the finished product. Just at first I was very aware and conscious of the fact that this is a 64 by 64 lot. It's specifically the 64 by 64 lot in Brindleton Bay. The name is in the top left if you need it. So that is obviously the biggest lot you get in The Sims, and it is a lot of space to work with, and I'm very much not used to building such a big house like this. I think this is probably the biggest house I've ever built, without a word of a lie. But I'm actually quite happy with how it's turned out. I mean, it is like my first big home. I think I've done quite well and made it continuous but not monotonous, if that makes sense. But yeah, so this is, like I said, the general idea. Later on it does change because as I came to landscaping it all, I just realised how big I'd made these flower beds and how much time and how many like bushes and how much money it would cost as well. Which is another thing. This build is obviously, probably you can tell from the size of it, it's very expensive. I think in the end, obviously it's in the description, all this info, but I think in the end it did cost around like 3,500,000. So that's quite the money spinner, but I would say it's worth it. There are loads of bedrooms, loads of bathrooms, you know, loads of fun stuff, but I won't tell you anything really, because that's what we'll get to in the second video that will be posted a couple days from this one. So I am disrupting my usual posting schedule just a bit, because I have plans for the winter for the Christmas period, and I don't want to disturb those with overflow from autumn. I think I will probably be a seasonal builder as well, by the way. I just need to flush out all this flower power love I have in me, because as you'll notice later on, even though this says full family home, there's still flowers in the front, and no, I will not be taking questions at this time. Anywho, so you can see that I have added a fence to encircle what is essentially the sociable, more usable part of the lawn. Again, I've been using the cats and dogs fence and gate, and then I'm just adding some stairs at the moment. Unfortunately, the railing on this staircase that you see here wasn't cooperating at all with the fence, and it was either I stopped the fence early or I didn't have the railing, and I'd rather just deal with the glitch. So just be aware, if you do want to use this build, there is a glitch in the fence. It's there. You know, we embrace the flaws that we find in things. It makes them special, makes them unique. So you just gotta either embrace that flaw or find another way to deal with it. Obviously you could just have the staircase one over, but I just didn't like the look of that, so I don't think it's that notable. It's obviously not going to affect your gameplay either, so yeah. But yeah, you just saw me add a pool in. There are 2 water features to the back garden. That's the swimming pool and then the pool. And now I am essentially just mapping out the floor plan. So again, working around the staircase. So there is only one staircase, and that is the one that is in the entryway to the house. But yeah, working around that, I started mapping off some sections. So you've got the entryway, hallway, then what will be a bathroom, kitchen and dining room, and then a more of a guest living room. So there are 2 of some rooms. Maybe I will admit I was being a bit uncreative at times. A lot of the rooms do have recurring content in them, but it just made it simpler in my mind to deal with the scale of this build, and I think also it added a nice thread of continuity throughout, because you kind of saw you see a lot of similar items, and it makes like the colour schemes, the styles a lot similar. It's just easier to deal with it in that way, I think. But yeah, so my thinking is, when I was building this, that the left hand side could be more of a guest receiving area, so that's why there's like a formal dining table and a formal living room and stuff. The formal one still has a TV in it, which I know a lot of front rooms don't have TVs, at least where I'm from, but I thought I'd put one in there anyway. This first floor does become essentially just bedrooms everywhere. So like I said, it is a family home, and there is 9 beds, I think. You can check it out in the gallery, but I'm pretty sure there's 9 beds in this build. So there's going to be 2 guest ones downstairs, and then like various ages of children's ones upstairs, and then the master one as well. But yeah, so God, what was I saying? Damn, no, that's gone. But yeah, you can see me doing the first floor here. There's 4 bedrooms, which like between 2 of them share an ensuite. and then the other ones either have their own private one or one that's on the hallway. And yeah, so that was the floor plan done. You'll see more of it in the second video, but now we're just jumping back outside. So I had gone through and like marked everywhere with either items I knew I was going to use or items that just were to remind me of what the room was for. And here I put the hot tub because I just thought if you're going to have a house this big, you may as well have all the bells and whistles. So there's a hot tub, there's outdoor eating area, there's the pool, the pond, you know, loads of gizmos inside as well that will keep your Sims entertained for days. So as much as this house is really expensive, I don't know if I've mentioned, it is around 350,000. It is, I would say, worth it, because if you can work up to it, or like if you're happy to use free real estate. But yeah, you get what you pay for, essentially, as with all good things. So, you know, don't worry about it. But yeah, so my thinking as well out here was just maybe, you know, it's autumn, the maintenance of the garden kind of falls away a bit, you're not using it as much, so it doesn't really matter. That's why there's like the leafy water in the pond and the pool, sorry. And then maybe you still use, like, because it's autumn, you know, it's just getting colder, you might still use the barbecue and like the outdoor eating area and stuff. I like eating outdoors. Don't know about you guys. Side note, I like eating outdoors in the winter. I think it's more fun. Like, I hate eating outdoors in summer. It's very irritating, but sound off in the comments if you want. But yeah, you just saw me add some bar stools there, and that's essentially it. I did cut out a lot of the footage that was just clutter. Then here I'm just adding in some hedges to sort of create some privacy, but also mainly hide the bins. And then what this area becomes is, because there's a laundry room on the inside, it's the sort of side entrance into the house that is mainly just to access the laundry room and get your washing out easily. So that was the main idea. There's quite a lot of activities in this house. Like, I had the room for a lot of things, so there's a lot of skill building items, there's a lot of community activities, either for family gameplay or like young adult gameplay with friends, in terms of, you know, the clubs and whatnot. So like I said, lot to play with, lot to do, definitely worth the price. But yeah, for the pond, it's really not that much. So moving on to a bit of like the more free space now in the back garden. Essentially it is just this obstacle course for pets, and then one bench and the pond, and later on I do add the wishing well, just because I was like, why not treat yourself? Why not have a wishing well? Maybe that's how you can afford this house. But yeah, so here's the bench I'm adding in. I'm not actually sure what pack that's from. I can't remember. I think it might be Cats and Dogs, but it just feels wrong to me. Maybe it's Bays? I don't know. But yeah, I'm just going around with this Jungle Adventure grass because, in my opinion, that's the most realistic grass that you have. And this is, I've got a lot of opinions about the grass in Sims 4, and I will die on a hill to stand by them. This one looks like the actual grass that you get in England. Like the most common, basic, thin-bladed grass, right? And there's like other grass that just is, it looks like wheat. And sure, you get that, but in more of like country spaces, not in suburban areas. So I just am like, when am I going to use it? That's how I reconcile those things in my brain. But yeah, now we're on to some of the, well, not some, but the showstopper, the front garden landscaping. You can see I pulled out quite a few bushes again, just like I did with the trees. These are the bushes that do form the the entirety, I don't think I add any other ones, the entirety of the flower beds. You can see here I'm just erasing the extra flower bed as well, because I've realised how massive it is. And then just here I am adding in a little bit of lawn space to make it more of a almost ornamental garden. So yeah, it looks a bit more organised, it looks more a bit of a high-end kind of curb appeal look to it, than just having a massive flower bed. Excuse me. I have a bone to pick as well about this lavender. So you get this lavender, which is at the base game, and then you get lovely or pleasant purple flowers or something, which comes with an outdoor retreat, and they're both lavender, but one's just a bit more wild and bushy and like updated, and it's just like, why? It seems like a bit of a cop-out in my opinion, because what The Sims 14 could have done is they could have just refreshed. Maybe this wasn't like something they could have done at that point, but just like now that we've had like the spa day refresh and everything, you could just refresh the base game lavender with this nicer looking one, because it looks more organic and it's a lot like, it doesn't look so flat, and it just is a bit of it's a bit of a cop out in my opinion that one of like the 3 flower bushes you get with outdoor retreat is one that we basically already have, just slightly different. I will I'll fight to the grave for that one. But yeah, so you can see the idea is I'm just like kind of evening out the bushes and kind of layering it all up. This is where I kind of just jump ahead so you can see more of the end result, and it's really nothing more to it than that, so I didn't include all of the flower beds. My main trick was just layering many of the same plants in one area and then sizing them up and down and raising them with like the 9 and 0 keys and stuff, just to add a little bit of dimension, make it not so same level flat, you know. And I think it worked. Well, I don't think it worked. I know it worked because it looks good. And yeah, you can see it's all kind of coming together. I did go for quite a blue look. I don't know why. I think it might have been the hosta, which is that sort of fern-like plant which comes with cats and dogs, which I don't understand because it looks quite tropical to me, but maybe I'm missing something. So yeah, I think it came from that. But here you see rather poorly painting in some lawnmower lines, and it just adds, I think I do take the grid off, so hopefully you'll be able to see it properly, but it just adds a sort of, like I said, ornamental garden, organised suburban curb appeal look to it. You can see it without the grid to the left here. It's one of those things where you'd need the grid to paint the straight lines, but hey ho. So we are heading inside now, so we've only got about 10 minutes left to the speed build, and the remainder of it will be inside. I oddly enough start off in this guest bathroom. I don't know why. I really couldn't explain it to you. I think it just was like, guest bathroom, we'll do one. I do cut out every single other bathroom, I believe. So there's 3 bathrooms. Yeah, there's 3 bathrooms downstairs, and then 3 en suites upstairs and 1 hallway bathroom. So it's quite a lot of bathrooms here. I didn't think you needed to sit through all of them, especially because, like I said, I have used mainly the same stuff throughout, and most of it is cats and dogs. But for this one I went with more of like, it was a fair bit of clutter, maybe like some complimentary toothbrushes and things like for your guests or something. A lot of the shelves, so if you had guests staying over, you know, like in theory they would put things on the shelves. That was sort of the idea. And then we've got like the medicine cabinet as well as the mirror cabinet on the wall. And then I just add in a lot of plants from the Blooming Rooms kit and various other packs. But I did find that I was gravitating more towards the Blooming Rooms kit and more contemporary sort of flowers, and more like their vases were contemporary than the flowers themselves, or plants rather. But yeah, sort of more of that edgy kind of contemporary, you know, like the ones that you find in Eco Lifestyle and Dream Home Decorator and things. I think the thing is with using too much traditional, you know, content, so like for example that bathtub, is it becomes a bit stuffy in my opinion. And I find also that with more recent packs, the items, the content we have is, even like with cottage living, it is more of like a modern sort of, you know, a modern sort of interpretation even of older stuff. It's either modern itself, like Dream Home Decorator, or the items are like, you know, like cottage living isn't actual country living stuff, it's cottage core, if that makes any sense. So it's like modern conveniences with the cottage aesthetic, so it's not actual country cottage living, you know? Don't know if that makes sense. I know what I'm talking about, but hopefully someone out there is like, I get what you mean. Like the packs are responding to like trends and like modern styles rather than older styles. And where you do find older styles, say like the Vampires pack and things, I just don't like the look of them. I just don't like the look of them. I think they're too ornate somehow, like it's too much. Maybe I just don't like that style. Maybe that's my problem. But I just think it becomes too overpowering, and that is why I believe I sort of do these traditional fancy kind of more, yeah, just traditional older exteriors, and then on the interior it becomes a bit more fluid and modern and organic and kind of like a workable, breathable space instead of some stuffy, like, you know, fuddy-duddy sort of old thing. But yeah, I just talked through the entirety of that bathroom, but as I'm sure you are probably aware, it's a bathroom. It has a toilet, a shower, a bathtub and a sink, and it is all fully functional. I believe I actually just tested like sitting down and the toilets when I playtested this build, so I should probably go back and I think I actually need to write myself a checklist of like what to look for when I'm playtesting. So I didn't do any cooking at all, but I'm sure it works. I'm like 85% sure that the one kitchen you'll see in here in this video works. Pretty sure. If not, it's all a learning curve. That's like my little shield against any criticism. But yeah, so you can see here I've added into the entryway one very large rug. The wallpaper I've used here is the wallpaper that I use throughout all the entry and hallway spaces. Again, just for that continuity. I went for a very large table at the front with just some flowers on it. I thought that was quite a nice like centerpiece for the eye. Totally easy for a sim to move around as well, didn't have any issues with that. And then I do later on add a little notebook onto that large table, but for this one underneath the painting, it's just kind of random clutter, but mainly kids' toys that, you know, maybe those are the ones they take out or something, treats for a dog, and then just the regular bog standard stuff of like plants, coat rack, umbrella stand. Bob's your uncle. I never adjusted. I realised this when I was like editing the footage. I put that little what's it called, miniature on the table by the reeds, and I never adjusted it. I meant to I put it on there to snap it into the right height, but I never adjusted it so that it wasn't clipping with the vase. And I was like, I need to go back and do that. Still haven't done it. I think there might be quite a few mistakes with this build, and if there is, we can just laugh about them, because it'll probably be something really obvious, like something sticking out of a wall somewhere. And look, I'll just put my hands up and say, like, look, I made a mistake, but it's my first time, pretty sure, building a house this big. Like, I'm honest to God think this is the first time I've done something this massive, and I'm just patting myself on the back over here because I finished it, and I think like good 75 to 80% of it probably looks really good, so, and is probably functional. So that's all I can ask for. 80%, that's good. That's like really good. That's more than the majority. Like, come on, that's good. But yeah, so that was just the entryway finished up there with some shoes, and then here we are moving on to the first kitchen, which is essentially just the kitchen for when they're hosting, and is to like sort of protect the family from, you know, social life, because they've got quite a few kids, and like obviously you maybe don't want your kids running into your friends, or you don't want your friends running into your kids, because it's like a little bit becomes too much to handle. So that was my idea. This is also probably more of like an adult space on this side, whereas my, like, as you'll see in the next video, the other half of the house is very much, there's very much like a kids-centered space, which would be nice. Like if you had like as many kids as you could have in this house, I think that would be great. Like, that's the ideal world, right? But yeah, so you can see I went with purple cabinets at first, but then I don't know why I decided to go for this red wallpaper from Paranormal and this red tile from Jungle Adventure, or maybe the Oasis kit. What's it called? Desert Lux? No, not Desert Lux. The Oasis Springs kit or something? I don't know. But that's because of that, the purple just wasn't really working anymore, so I changed it to black, and then I changed the appliances to purple because the black overhead cabinets I was using have a purple curtain in them, which I thought kind of tied that in quite nicely, and the purple on the appliances didn't clash too horribly with the red. Usually it's just hard because like purple's obviously blue and red, and they're quite bold colours, so to have a bold, rather than like pastel as we have here, purple, against a very bold red, it is a lot, because I'm going to use the wrong word, but either the tone or the hue of the colour, they're too close together, and that's why they clash. But yeah, basically, like if you put it into black and white, will it be the same shade of black, like grey? That's what I'm talking about. If anyone knows what I'm talking about, that's what I'm talking about. But yeah, that was essentially the kitchen. It was just using the Country Kitchens kit, and then I added in a small table as well. That was just for like when you're maybe having a small coffee, you just want to set the table, or maybe you're having like breakfast with your, I don't know, small things like that, small bites to eat, small cups of coffee, and you're just like quick stop or something. Here we have the formal dining room, so I do go for quite the blue colour scheme in here. That's mainly, again, just inspired by the fact that cats and dogs have a really nice shade of blue. It's this almost duck egg blue, and it just all worked really well together. And I believe also the panelling on the walls is from cats and dogs. And then I bring in a bit more vibrancy, so it's not too flat, through adding in that rug, which is from the pack. It's something like, oh, is it Paranormal pack? Is it the Paranormal stuff? It is, I think. And then luckily many of the base game plants have a blue vase as well, which I was quite happy to find. You got a sneak peek of the clutter I put into the kitchen there. So there is like the radio and like just normal things like soap and stuff. I've obviously cluttered up the table with like kettle and things, and then there's also a like faux recipe book you can see now, and a fruit bowl and things, and that was just sort of the extent of my dabblings there. And then I went back in with some things and made it a bit more homey and lived in. But this is like the serious kitchen. This is the hosting kitchen, so it wasn't too, it was like, it's meant to be warm and inviting, but still like, hi guys, sorry for that little cut off there. Unfortunately there was some corruption with my video whilst I was recording, but that was the end of the video, and I hope you enjoy these screenshots and look out for part 2. Bye!